continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Before we get to Ted, I want to introduce you to Natalie Coleman. She is a board member, Will County Board. Mm-hmm. She has been there, I guess, 4 years. And the issue of, continuing to spend more money on critical services that the county provides by raising property taxes on the county's residents was being debated by the board. And Natalie Coleman had this to say.
Some people have been promoting on social media that they are specifically responsible for cutting taxes in Will County, and I just think it's very sad that we are lying to people. The other piece is we're talking about people who are fed up with paying property taxes. I've been paying property taxes for 12 years. It becomes a point in time where I couldn't afford that. I'm going to downsize, and that might be the option for some people, but the option for others who are currently
So if you can't afford your property tax on your house, well, then sell your house and downsize to a home that you can afford. And then when the property taxes spiral that house and you can't afford that house anymore, then sell it again at a loss and buy a house that you can afford. Just keep buying properties, having the government liquidate their value through increased property taxes, selling them at a loss, and work your way down into one of the Will County government's local shelters.
So, I mean, the irony, though, she's telling residents to downsize if they can't afford the rising property taxes while she's at a board meeting voting to raise property taxes yet again. Oh, she's a wonderful, great advice. Now, that is somebody, remember her name, and come election time, you do not vote for that person.
Ted Dabrowski, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, guys.
It's a novel. It's a novel approach to property tax relief.
Well, it's not so novel, I guess, right? If you look at the out-migration of people leaving Illinois, that's what a lot of people do. It's funny, they're not even downsizing when they move to other states. Some of them are selling to get out of this property tax mess. They're buying, even in Indiana, bigger houses, better services, and a lower property tax bill. So, this shows you how disconnected people are in our government. Once they get there, they like what they've got, and they just poo-poo on what ordinary people go through. And we've talked about this a lot, just nearby, right? In South Cook County, you've got those massive property tax hikes and collapsing home values. It's a real struggle for people, and here she is ignoring it.
Well, our friend Raquel Mitchell, who is also on the board, pushed back against Natalie Coleman talking about what she said. The idea that our taxpayers should downsize their lifestyles and that the government doesn't have to downsize its spending is unconscionable. So there are some sensible people on the Will County Board, Natalie Coleman not being one of them, but it's also a reflection of the larger mental challenges with the electorate because Natalie Coleman didn't get there by herself. Somebody put her there.
Yeah, well, thanks to having somebody like Raquel to push back. But yeah, this whole thing, making people downsize their lives, right? Not as Raquel Mitchell says, right? Not just downsize your house, but you have to downsize your lifestyle. That's so that the government can keep spending more and more and more. And that's what we've seen, right? It's not like we've had to raise taxes because we need it. I mean, we're raising taxes all the time to the max, to the point where our government has gotten so large. And you were talking about this earlier. Our government's gotten so large, and yet it becomes increasingly unresponsive to the people. It gets bigger and bigger, and yet the services get worse and worse.
Well,
and
but
that's
right,
because
because
they're taking care of themselves, not the people.
Well, and because there's no political consequences for it. I mean, this is like fundamentally a philosophical decision, whether the people exist for government or government exists for the people. And the culture in Illinois is that people exist for the government. You are spare parts. You are to bow in service to the government. And as Natalie Coleman nicely said, if that means you have to take less, then you have to take less because it is government first. That should be the slogan. It should be the slogan of Pritzker and the new Bolshevik Party here is government first. This is government centric. All roads lead to government. All focus needs to be on government.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they never flipped that on Trump and went to government first. You're right, because it fits perfectly, right? It's always the case, and
if you had a Republican Party, somebody might be able to make that argument. Yeah, might go through a branding exercise there.
So So
well, I was you had mentioned the outmigration numbers, and of course, property tax is a proximate cause of some of it. And we mentioned them earlier in the week. Well, yesterday, I guess. But go through them, particularly because again, Jelly Belly's response and the response of the party, because they can get away with it, is no, we're not losing residents. No, we're not losing population. We're growing.
Yes, phenomenal. There's a conference on pensions last week, and Andy Monar, who's one of the spokesmen for Pritzker, was quick to correct somebody saying, no, there is no population loss in Illinois. We are growing. It's the most people we've ever had. And he's saying this even as the census estimates for the last 3 years have said that Illinois has lost 240,000 people, 100,000, 100,000, and then 30,000. And we got new numbers out just the other day. We posted them, I think it was yesterday or Friday. 93,000 people on net 2023 left Illinois for other states. So we're the third worst loser of people. And this thing continues, right, where more people are moving out than moving in. And, it backs up everything that we hear from the IRS data. The new data was the census data. It backs up what the IRS data says, the moving ban stuff says. And yet Governor Pritzker and his team are going to keep saying that Illinois is not shrinking. And, we keep saying if you don't acknowledge the problem that you're losing people, then you don't fix the problems. So it's better to hide them.
It's just more beautiful lies. And he knows it too. You can even ask him, like, well, we lost a congressional seat. Well, that's not true. And they lie to your face, and they lie to their voters because they just don't care. I wanted to ask you about vision. Sorry, go on. Yep.
No, you just make a good point that even if you want to give it to Pritzker, we're not losing population. Maybe we're just kind of standing still. Everybody else is growing, and so that means we're shrinking, right? And that means we have less representatives in Congress. We used to be 27. Now we have 17, and we're on our way down to 15. So it's an ugly thing unless you just think it's good that we have less representation in Illinois because of our bad policies.
Yeah, but they'll fill it with illegals. They're busing them in. All right, are you familiar, Ted, with Vision Zero? It's a three-pronged approach to traffic safety, don't you know? And the person behind it is Alderman Daniel Espada. It passed committee yesterday, and now he's hoping the momentum will continue through the city council.
Hey, this is Alderman Daniel Espada. Earlier today, we passed our full Vision Zero legislative package out of committee. This includes an interdepartmental agency to bring more equity and transparency to enforcement, a statutory lowering of Chicago speed limit from 30 to 25 miles per hour, and a pilot around resident-based reporting of bus and bike lane blockages. All of these items together, when they pass the full city council, will put us on a path towards a safer, healthier, more sustainable Chicago. I'm so
what do you think?
I think he's a white dude for Harris.
Jeez. I mean, this is, again, government's trying to do, especially when I hear the word equity as part of the plan, that already spells trouble. Here they are focused on getting the speed limit from 30 to 25 when they've got the most murders in the country, when we've talked about how kids can't read at their schools, right? Just a fifth of kids can read. focused on the wrong things. And, well, I mean, maybe it's the right things for them, right? More government intervention, more government rules, more government power.
More
Yeah, but they
government, more government fines. Those red light cameras, then
Yeah,
more. I mean,
exactly.
the speed cameras and stuff.
Well, yeah,
more,
the fines
more
and,
money.
Fines and fees will go up if you speed, also, and more red light cameras and speed cameras. But resident-based reporting, so they're asking residents to have get their cell phones ready, and then there's going to be a special place where you could text a picture of a bus or bike lane obstruction to the parties that be, and I don't know what's going to happen from that, but that sounds like a really good idea, doesn't it?
This sounds a little bit like some other times we've heard about where people start telling on each other,
Yeah,
and that never leads to good things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a population that is ripe for lives of others sort of culture. I mean, unless it pertains to something that's important. Chicago Public Schools, this piece that you did, because BLM Brandon is, had this contretemps with the CEO there, Pedro Martinez, over short-term borrowing, payday loan stores type borrowing to be able to finance the new CTU contract. But this report you did on the 20 most empty schools in CPS is sort of interesting, particularly with the price tags associated.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. We've covered this for about 6 years, and it's gotten a lot of attention. But it's gotten renewed attention now, especially with the $1 billion city budget deficit coming up next year, and CPS with a similar $1 billion problem. And here you have these empty schools, and we've talked about it a lot. But you got Douglas High School, capacity for 900 kids, and it's only got 35 kids in the school. That's 4%. It's got 22 staff members. Right, so you got 22 employee staff members for 35 students. It's almost a 1-to-1. You should have perfect reading scores and perfect math scores at that school. Instead, only it's 0% of kids can read there. Fascinating, and they're spending $68,000 per kid in 2023. So you've got 20 of these like that, and then you've got a whole bunch more, and yet Johnson had the gall when he was challenged. And it's really nice to see the press challenge him right now because they're challenging him. I wish it'd be a little harder, but they're challenging him. And they asked him about these empty schools, and he said, "Look, I'm not going to look at the number of kids in the schools to determine how much I invest in those schools." And that, of course, makes him sound insane, which is what people need to hear because he has no plans to fix this stuff.
You know what I hear? You know what I hear you saying?
What?
I hear you saying that a black man should be able to go watch the Bears in London. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, what
And
came
not
of
be
that
challenged.
meeting? I mean, what came of did he meet with anybody? Because I don't know if he knew who he was meeting with.
I didn't see much reported, but I did hear earlier that he brought back a couple jobs from something, but I don't know.
They were coming here anyway, by the way.
But don't forget Pritzker. Pritzker was in Japan, so don't mess with it. Yeah.
And what do we have to show for that? Ooh, you big boy. I mean, is that me doing my? It's me doing my Judge Ito doing. Wait, no, Al D'Amato doing Judge Ito. That's my. All right, Ted Dabrowski. This is going off the rails. Ted Dabrowski, President of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRe